Hey, what's up everybody? Welcome back to my channel, and today I will be doing my first Rant review. I previously mentioned this book in my readathon because it was one of the 5 books that I chose to read, and I regret reading it. So normally I don't like to be super negative. A lot of those books I did genuinely enjoy, but this book I picked it up because the premise is very interesting and I thought it could be definitely done well, and it was not done well. So premise was high, execution was not. And the book I'm referring to is Edinburgh. Okay, so my first problem with this book was the fact, first let me tell you what the premise is. So the premise is that this 12-year-old boy, it starts with him, his name, he goes by Fee, he's Korean American, and he is a part of the choir. Well, as it turns out, his choir director is a pedophile. So Fee knows what this man is doing is wrong, but he doesn't come forward to say anything. And it's about how the guilt of not coming forward affects him, as well as later on in life, his friend, the boy he befriended, who was also molested by the choir teacher, ends up killing himself. There are a few other people who end up committing suicide, and Fee has to live with the knowledge that he didn't come forward and he could have possibly prevented some of the things from happening. So the first 70 pages are Fee whenever he is a child, when he was 12 and in the choir, and I'm trying to see if after that it immediately jumped into his adulthood, because I knew I'd only have to, let's see, yeah, so I knew I'd only have to read about his childhood for 70 pages, and after that it would be his adulthood. And that knowledge was part of the reason that I stuck it through, because there have been books I have DNF'd. One example is Catch-22. Couldn't do it, just couldn't finish it. But a lot of books, I stay till the end even if I dislike it, because I'm like, oh, well, maybe it'll get better. But also I feel like I can't give a confident review unless I have finished the book. And with this book, I kept thinking, it'll get better, it'll get better, it'll get better. It didn't get better. So my first problem comes with the first 70 pages where his childhood. Okay, that's fine. Like, I understand these are things that happen in life, and it's very unfortunate, but there are people like this choir teacher out there, and the more light we can shine on that, the more we can prevent it and just stop it from happening, and just things like that, and protect the children. But I think there is a way to depict that this man was committing these heinous crimes without getting as detailed as this book got. At one point, he takes naked pictures of them at the river. Okay, yes, that is unfortunately something pedophiles do, but okay, yeah, like, it's disgusting, but that's something this man did that is highlighting, like, okay, we're starting to realize maybe this man isn't the best person to be around these children, like, what's going on. And then later on that same trip, they play Share the Sleeping Bag. That is enough description for me to put together in my head, oh my God, this man needs to be stopped. What I did not need was the level of detail that went into this. When 12-year-old Fee is describing the genitals of the grown man, as well as these other 12-year-old boys and himself, I did not need that. The reader did not need to know that. I think this did not need to be included. I don't know who edited this book, who allowed this person to put things like that in this book, but I I just don't understand why we needed that. It did not enhance the story. It just made me uncomfortable and like, I shouldn't be reading this. What is going on? So I continued my journey, and the one line that I quote, that I tell people, this is why you shouldn't read this book, is I understand, like, you know, they're 12 and 13, like, okay, we've all been kids, they were experimenting, but I didn't need to know that this 12-year-old boy was performing oral sex on this other 12-year-old boy. All I needed to know that they were experimenting. Like, I didn't need the details of his genitals tasted like bread smeared with salt. I did not need to know that. That line stuck with me, and I was just like, why would you include this? Like, I don't need to know this about children. This is insanely inappropriate. Oh my God. Like, but for some reason, I was like, you know, we're almost at 70. Just gonna keep trekking on. And Jesus, I wish I just wouldn't have picked up this book, because I love horror movies and stuff. Like, I love horror books, I love horror movies, I love like Hostel and the Saw movies, as well as the classics like Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and a lot of horror movies have disturbing imagery and some pretty messed up scenes. I can take all of that stuff, but this book disturbed me to my core. The fact that someone put this on paper and then someone else edited it and allowed it to get published, I don't understand why that was necessary. So then, finally get past the child part. I'm like, all right, it should shape up from here. Hopefully this part will get better. The latter half, it's gonna pick up. So the fella who was his friend ends up committing suicide, and then another fella he was close, the one he had been experimenting with, also committed suicide. And that I didn't have a problem with, because like, they went through something pretty traumatic. Like, it's understandable. It's very, very sad, but I did enjoy how Fee handled it and everything, and showing the progression of his grief and everything. But a problem I had with this book was the author's writing style. I found it very fluffy and adding so many pieces that weren't important. 30 pages could have been mushed down to 30 sentences. It didn't need to be that long. It felt like it was just being dragged out with unnecessary details and fluff that was just not necessary. And some books, you know, add that fluff and that layer, and it does well, but for this book, it did not do well. And another thing that I found strange was, not strange because I've seen other books like this, instead of using quotation marks, whenever someone was talking, they just use the apostrophe. I'm not sure what it's called whenever you use it for speech. It's not quotation marks because it's not double, it's just the one. But I found that to be rather confusing, because there would be portions where characters were speaking, and I didn't know if what was written was them speaking, or if it was just words that the author was saying, or what they were thinking, and I found that very confusing. With the other book I read like this, I want to say it was Little Fires Everywhere, I didn't have any problem, but for some reason how this author came across, I got confused. And maybe it also had to do with the amount of fluffy writing that was there, but I did not care for it. So, to progress more, the Fee is now all grown up, he has a husband and everything, and he begins teaching at a school as a swim instructor. And there's this young boy, I can't remember, I think it was high school, so it like kind of progressed through, but I don't know his exact age, who starts developing a crush on Fee and everything. And this is a high schooler developing a crush on the teacher, which is like understandable. Like, we all had some cute teachers in high school, but how the author went about making this happen, I did not care for, because Fee has a significant other. He has a husband, but he still gave into the desires of this child. And I mean, maybe by the end this child was of age, but like, you have a husband and now all of a sudden you're going to go after this child. And if this child isn't of age, the idea of this happened to you and others like you when you were a child, like when you were young, and it traumatized y'all to the point where 2 of them committed suicide. So why would you do that? I didn't care for it. I didn't feel like that was super realistic on Fee's part. I just didn't appreciate that. But also, by some weird twist of fate, this child who is infatuated with him is the son of the man who molested Fee and the other children. And I just think that was a weird coincidence that didn't really add much to the story, and I didn't really care for that twist. First I was a little confused, and then I was like, oh, so that's what's happening now? Okay. Like, I just didn't really care for it. And then at the very end, and I have to admit, like, I hate doing this because I am one to savor each and every word, but towards the end, I couldn't anymore. I found myself skipping through paragraphs of fluff that I was just like, I don't care. But the ending that kind of I did not care for was, Sophie and his husband got in a fight and all this stuff, and the boy who had the infatuation ended up killing his father, burning down the house, and Fee, for some reason, saves his ass and then takes him to the police station and is like, all right, go turn yourself in because I'm not going to do it. And then the guy's like, we can run away together. I'm not going to turn myself in. Of course not. And then for some reason, Fee ends up, I think, at the burnt house, and his husband comes up, and literally it ends with, hi, Bridie says. Hi, I say, hi. Like, what? What do you, what? I just didn't do it for me. I was like, maybe the ending will save it. It didn't. It just left me even more disappointed in this book. So yeah, this book, if I could have given it 0 stars, I would have. And again, I hate to be such a hater, but oh my God, I really did not care for this book. Like, this was a book that had potential. The idea had a lot of potential. I think it could have been very interesting, and the execution of it was not there on so many levels. So yeah. So again, the book was Edinburgh. I wouldn't recommend reading it. I'm sorry, I could not get behind it. Also, sorry, I know the light is slowly fading. The sun is slowly going down. I had a lot of light at the beginning, and it's just progressively getting darker. So sorry about that. But yeah, so that was my first rant review. I couldn't get on board with this book. Normally, I like to hold on to my books and everything because just the memories, even the ones I don't care for, but I don't even know if I want to hold on to this book. We'll see what happens. I might donate it or to the library or a used bookshop. I don't know. But thank you all for watching. In the description, I will leave my Twitter and Instagram, so feel free to check those out and talk to me about books and stuff, because I love a good book conversation. And y'all have a great one, and I'll see you next time.